Hey y'all, my name is Mel, and this project is meaningful to me because it's a platform we created for women to freely express themselves and be the loud and proud, confident women that they're entitled to be.
Hey, I'm Vicky, and just like Mel, I've been in and witnessed too many situations where I felt prejudged and misunderstood, or even worse, was provoked and later on was labeled as crazy for loving myself enough to stand up for me.
Honestly, if I had a dollar for each time I've been called crazy or too much, simply for standing up for myself or asking questions when things didn't add up, I'd be on an island I bought with that money right now. And I almost started to believe it, that it was me. But then I realized over time that my voice was my power. And through my story and through this podcast, I hope to inspire women from all walks of life to find their courage and speak up.
I'm beyond over being told to take it, and I wanted to be the voice for the ladies who aren't quite ready to roar just yet.
Women aren't to be placed in a box. We come from different backgrounds and have different journeys. And that's pretty much how we become ourselves and find our purpose. So a man has no place telling us how to be, neither does society. I really hope women listen to this podcast and feel heard and realize there's nothing wrong with a little crazy as long as it means you're freely expressing yourself.
This podcast will touch on all things woman. Let's get crazy. What's
Hello,
up,
crazy
crazies?
bitches.
We're back again. We're back again with the back again, the new episode. Today we'll be talking about toxicity.
Yay! Oh, and by the way, just a heads up, I will be sneezing, coughing, and making weird faces, and that's why you will hear Vicky laugh in the background because she can see my face. You cannot, but she can. So carry on.
We're also like trying to do this over a Teams meeting or Zoom meeting,
Zoom,
and,
yeah.
and there may or may not be a lag. So if I say something or if Lisa says something and we respond to each other like 2 minutes in between, that's technology. People deal with it.
Yep.
But welcome back to our show.
Welcome back.
So today we're talking about toxicity because since 2020 hit, it's been pretty freaking toxic, not just with the corona and the quarantine, but I feel like people have really shown every single side of their dark side this year, which is pretty surprising. It's
Yep.
pretty disappointing
Yep.
because
It's the year of
I
it's
feel,
the year of passive aggression and
oh, girl,
toxic behavior and like people. It's like the
zero
pandemic,
accountability.
like it has given people the opportunity to really show their true colors because it's like being stuck at home and being frustrated and just with everything going on in the world and people just getting depressed and dealing with mental illness, like that brings out the ugly out of people and a lot of people's true colors. Just speaking from personal experience, I know Vicky can speak from personal experience as well. People have really just been showing their true disgusting rotten colors, and we're here to talk about it because I mean, if we both been going through it, we know that there's other people out there who have as well.
Yeah. So we kind of I put together a couple um things here. I just jotted down a couple things. Basically, how to detect toxicity, kind of. How to interpret toxic behavior and how to not allow it to,
Oh,
mess
that's good.
with your own aura, your own energy.
Good
Um,
stuff.
so basically, I wrote down a lot of things that remind me of toxic behavior. So the first one that I put on here is inconsistency and one-sidedness. So does not practice what they preach. So what this means is you will always, with a toxic person, a lot of the times they want to push you into doing things and give you a type of energy that they will never accept for themselves.
Oh,
They want
yes.
to lead you to a path that they may not like to be led themselves. And a lot of the times, a toxic person is going to either try to convince you to go a route that they want to go, or they're going to manipulate a situation where you end up down that path regardless.
Right.
But if you do it to them, it's like a whole like end of the world.
Ooh.
So what are your thoughts on this? Like, how do you feel about this particular trait of toxicity in people?
Just speaking from personal experience, like just having to have dealt with that even prior to the pandemic, and people just showing their horrible colors, shades of brown, doo-doo brown, and mud green. It's just, like since before the pandemic, I've always been a person who just didn't have a problem being the bigger person, and like I feel like people know that. If they know that you're someone who is used to taking the high road and just being like, okay, like let me take the high road and compromise and just let you have it, or be the one to extend an olive branch, they're just kind of like spoiled and they expect that from you. So now they use that as a manipulation tactic. So it's like they fuck up or they disrespect you, and then they're like, oh, but it's okay because all I have to do is flip the script and then make it like, oh, you kind of deserve that disrespect, and now you have to apologize to me. And I don't know, this year I was like, no, I agree with that. That's a manipulation tactic right there. Like that's all I see it as. It's like there's no way that you don't know that there are ways to communicate that are not that don't include manipulation and just like, how can I say, like as you said, it's just like they want you to kiss their ass and just get on your knees and beg for what? You're the one who's disrespecting me. You know what I mean? And you want me to feel like your passive aggression and your disrespect is a form of like instead of you coming and being like, hey, maybe I did do something that you didn't like, or I hurt your feelings, or I made you feel away. That's very much so possible. The thing is, I'm the kind of person, and Vicky's the kind of person as well. What'd you say? Go ahead.
I said it's sometimes it's as simple as a conversation.
A conversation.
A whole energy.
I am like the easiest person. If you sit me down and you talk in a tone that is respectful and you say, hey, Mel, I notice you have a pattern of doing this or saying that. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm doing to bother people because that's not how I am or who I am. I don't intentionally want to bother people. So if I'm doing something that is bothering you, don't let it build up to a point where I become your enemy and I don't know, or we're in competition because you don't like me because I've been doing so and so to get on your nerves, and you've just been bottling it up. And now it's just being projected in this weird energy that I feel because I'm an empath. So like, I feel like your movements are weird. I feel like you're trying to provoke me, even though you're saying it in a nice voice, or do you understand what I'm saying? It's just like, or you're doing little things that are just provoking me, although you're not being direct about it. You know what I mean? That's toxic, as you say. That's very, very toxic. People don't know that having a simple, like, can we sit down? Can we talk about it? Look, I don't like when you do this, or I don't like when you say that. I didn't like when you did this, or I didn't like when you did that. That is the healthiest form of communication. Anything else, honestly, is toxic. And, that's what I have to say on that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I do feel like I'm looking at something else that I wrote right underneath this, which kind of segues right out of what you just said, which is there's a passive aggression as opposed to having just a simple conversation. And then sometimes on top of the passive aggression, what I wrote here is a complete disconnect or a constant joking or jabs about personal issues. Now I know in friendship, there are different friendships that have different dynamics. Like if you look at men's friendships, like straight cisgender men's friendships, sometimes it's rough. They play rough, they talk rough, they'll insult each other like just off site, but it's love. For women, we kind of do it too, but we're not as aggressive about it with our friends. So for me, I feel like when I have a friend who constantly has something to say about my personal issues, like if I share my personal issues with you and like you constantly use it as material to just like poke fun or make jabs, it's like, yeah, some jokes are kiki, but when you hear the same joke over and over and over again, and then sometimes there's a tone, sometimes it's an underlayer, sometimes people will say things to you with a smile on their face and a giggle in their tone, and it's an insult. So it's
Yep.
like, it's kind of like, are you trying to be funny, or are you taking jabs because you don't know how to open your mouth and say what your actual problem is? That to me is extremely toxic,
That's true.
because I take my friendships and my people who I let in. I'm a very guarded person. I'm a very private person.
Yeah, that's true.
And whoever I let close to me, like they get to see the real 100% me. So it's just kind of like, if I'm sharing all of my intimate details with you, it's not for you to take them and use them against me simply
Right.
because you don't have the courage in your chest to tell me what I did to you.
It's
If
low-key
I've done
hate. It's
anything to
low-key.
you. Sometimes the toxic behavior comes from, yeah, it comes from just being a hater. It comes from someone just
Yeah.
feeling like you have something that they should have, or you have something that you don't deserve, or whatever the hell it is, and they just feel threatened by you. And so instead
Yeah.
of being able to be like, hey, I don't like this, or I don't like, it's a passive aggressive toxicity. It's a poking
It's
fun at my situation. It's like,
just
if I come to you and I make a comment or a complaint about something, it's like, oh girl, whatever, you're not gonna do nothing anyways, blah 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 blah. And most times the people who are going off on you or gabbing at your situation are people who have no room to talk. Excuse me,
it's
no
always
window
them.
of opportunity to say anything.
And, yo, 10 times out of
It's
10,
always,
it's always the motherfucker that has a pile of shit sitting on top of their head, just smelling like a whole fucking garbage area. It's always that one person who has like a whole fucking sewage on their fucking head. Just, skeletons that are just jumping out of the closet and screaming for help. It's them. It's always the motherfucker that hasn't healed, that just doesn't love themselves. It's
Melissa. I
insecure
am
because
looking at my
of
list. It's so crazy, like how long ago. Sorry, we're like lagging over each
I
other.
know,
Our
sorry.
bad. But I was just saying, like, it's crazy how we actually had a meeting about this episode like a whole month ago, I feel like. And since
Yeah.
like this topic was discussed between us, so many things in our personal life has came up that it's almost like, I feel like, did we create this energy? Like, I'm looking at
Did
something
we?
here right underneath the topic that I wrote down, which is competition. And I know that you especially have just gone through this with a person where I don't think they did it to you. Well, yeah, they did it to you without really even saying it in so many words, but basically comparing your life struggles to another person's and belittling their struggles because you feel like what you're going through is worse than anybody else's. Let me tell you something. 2020 was a year that spared no motherfucking body, okay? 2020 is a year that, like, I'm not saying you're not allowed to, I'm not saying suffer in silence. I'm not saying you're not allowed to complain. I'm not saying you're not allowed to feel like life is fucked up, because it is. But let me explain something. Life is fucked up for everybody right now. It's been fucked up since January 1st, 2020. Okay? So there's no
Literally.
reason for anybody to go who's going through anything could be like, oh, my struggles are worse than yours. My struggles are worse than yours. My struggles are worse than yours. And to then a person like crap because mentally or spiritually just cannot be there for you. This is the year where, unfortunately, if you know that the person is a good person, they've always been a good person to you, they have anything to you that would make you feel other, you have to give them a pass, ma'am or sirs, because this year a lot of people don't have it in them.
Nope.
this year has drained the life out of so many people that it's like for you to expect more from a person than what they are offering you this year, it's selfish.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
selfish, it's wrong, it's toxic as fuck.
It's disgusting, to be quite honest. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. This year, I lost the man who raised me. I lost my father. It's my mother's husband. They got married when I was about like 8 years old, and he has been in my life this whole entire time. And it's he was taken away from a disease that Kurt and I were in class making fun of. Everything was coronavirus, coronavirus, and for it to to hit me like that 2 weeks after my birthday during a pandemic. And it was honestly one of the darkest times in my life, and I have been through a lot of dark times. It was this one time was a time where like I was literally, I'm trying not to get emotional because like my period is around the corner. It was a time where I literally in prayer just would beg God, just beg God to just let me find myself again, my light. You can ask Vicky or anyone who was around me. I was just like all over the place. And I just didn't have it. I only had enough to show up for my kids. I just didn't have it. I did not have it. I know that I'm used to being the friend who can like maintain like 15 healthy friendships, you know what I mean, without people even, knowing that like from the point I wake up and I go to sleep, like I'm being a mom, I'm in school, I'm working, whatever the case may be, and I have an actual like best friend that I live with, but I'm still maintaining all these friendships with all these people at the same time. But this year, like Vicky says, not just myself, but a lot of people just didn't have it. And sometimes I felt like, is it not a big deal to lose your dad? Like, Vicky, I asked you many times, I was like, is it not a big deal? And Vicky would have to be the one to tell me, like, no, everything that you're feeling is valid. And I appreciate that. And I'm blessed to have a best friend like that, because I feel like the majority, and not everyone, I'm grateful for Alea who let me stay with her. I'm grateful for, like obviously a lot of my friends for checking up on me. What I'm saying is that a lot of time, like once the month started to go by, it wasn't a topic of discussion anymore. People were and although I'm still feeling it, people are expecting me to just be like, okay, show up and be yourself. And it's just like, I was with one of my girls, and like I don't think like she didn't mean anything by it, but she was just like, hey, you're quiet, I'm used to you being talkative. And I was like, I changed. Sometimes I don't talk. Sometimes I don't talk, and it's not like on purpose or to be rude. It's just I get in this uncomfortable bubble. It's like if it's a new territory, or it's like something that is just abrupt, I just get quiet. I just get in my shell. I just don't want to be the center of attention. I don't want too much noise. And the only person who really makes me feel like that's okay is Vicky. She's the only one who to be like, hello, yeah, excuse me, ma'am. So just to touch base on that, I've had a lot of people just be like, I get that your dad died, but I need you to show up, and that's toxic to me. That's not a friendship, and I've had to let those people go. I've had to accept that they were in the wrong.
Yeah, and it's just I feel like there's no other choice. I mean, really. I mean, in this year in general, like I keep saying, um, if you're not someone who understands that life is slapping everyone in the face right now, then you may have to go it alone. Because I don't know too many people this year, after going through everything that we've all been through, who's going to tolerate having someone on their team who's all me, 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 me. This is really the year where people have shown themselves more than ever in the most disgusting kind of ways. And I feel like it's just really disappointing because in the beginning of this, I really thought that it would show a calmer, like, side of humanity. And it's just, it hasn't. It hasn't at all. It's brought the most disgusting, like, I don't promise to Satan, but this is his motherfucking year. Like, I'm telling you, like, this is the year of the Satan, because I don't understand, like,
He
what
was like, God, please
energy
let me get 1 year,
that
please,
has
please,
brought
please.
out
And God was like, fine, you
the
take 2020.
I swear. I swear, like, it's to a point where in my head I keep thinking, like, okay, December's coming, so that means another year is coming in. But it's like exciting, but at the same time, it's like, but wait, the last time that we all collectively prayed for a new year, we ended up with 2020. So I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of like, it's so much going on that it's like, I can't imagine myself having to be in a space where a person who I think has my back, or a person who should have my back, or a person whose back I constantly have, is low key like either plotting on me or just genuinely doesn't give a shit about what I have going on, unless it benefits them, or unless I can be, you know, a shoulder to cry on for them, or a body to take to the nearest party. And it's just kind of like, sometimes you just need to know who's really on your team. Sometimes you just need to know what energy to trust. Because I say this, if you've ever spent a real moment with me, you would have heard me say at least once, energy doesn't die, it transfers. I believe in energy so immensely, to the point where, like, sometimes I'll, like, and I've told you this before, Mel, when we lived together, like, I'll come home from work and tell you, like, I just experienced the person's energy on the train, and it was so
Oh yeah.
dark that it made me, like, physically ill. Like, you know, like, I've been around just strangers in public where it's like they'll walk next to you or sit next to you on the bus or whatever, and you just feel so, just, you can feel the darkness and, like, the depression or whatever it is they're going through. You can feel it. If you're a spiritual person and you believe in spirituality and you believe in feeling energies and stuff like that, you can feel other people's energy, because scientifically, even if you don't believe in that, scientifically, energy doesn't die, it transfers. So
Yeah.
there's been times where I've been on the train, someone will come in and, like, they look off and then their energy is off, and it'll give me a headache, or it'll make me nauseous until I get my body physically away from that person. So for me, it's like, if that's an intense reaction to have to another person's energy, which means that I have allowed
Right.
myself to come to a point in my spirituality where I'm allowing these things to manifest for me. So it's just kind of like, I have to be very careful who I let into my circle. And
Amen.
I'm cautious of this. So imagine the people who aren't. Imagine the people who aren't cautious of this. They're just walking around doing anything, letting anyone in their circle. And sometimes you are doing everything right. You're checking all the boxes, you're dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's, and your shit is still fucked up. And you're like, where, why, what step did I miss? And it's not even you, it's another
People
person that
hating
you're
from the
associated to whose
sidelines.
energy is fucked up. Exactly.
Mm-hmm,
Exactly. And that is
mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm.
toxicity at its worst, because it's a silent killer. It's deadly. You don't see it. You don't understand where it's coming from. You just experiencing the shit. It's happening to you.
Amen to the motherfucking word. Yo, I was over here pointing the finger, snapping my fucking fingers because, yo, that shit is so fucking real and raw. Like, people that you think are your friend, who are in the front line, just like, you're telling them your plans, your goals, your aspirations, your congratulations, and all of that. And these people are low key like, oh, I'm praying for this person's downfall. So everything that you prep and prepare for yourself, and everything is just done exactly how it's supposed to get done. And you just don't understand. You're like, God is not God. What's blocking your blessings is that, like, wave of energy that you have around you of people who, that's why I posted recently on Facebook. I said, if you don't like me, I don't care. I just don't care. I used to care, you know, and I used to try to get people to like me because I was like, I'm so likable. Like, why don't you like me? Like, let me try this and let me try that and let me try this conversation. Let me try, telling you this. And nah, if you don't like me, it doesn't change my value. It doesn't change the kind of friend or person or mom or sister or wife or whoever the fuck I am. It does not change that. But the only thing that needs to change and be reevaluated is your position in my life. I'm not, you know what I mean? If anything needs to be adjusted as far as my attitude or whatnot, I'm not perfect. Cool. We can have a conversation, as you said previously, on this topic. It's a simple conversation. I'm not a fucking demon. Obviously, if I hurt someone's feelings, it's going to affect me. And if I care about you, I'm going to adapt and adjust. But if I'm just happy and jolly and just being myself and it provokes your demons, please take yourself somewhere else. You don't have to be here. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's just like people, you know, people like to stick around and be around you because who knows why, but the whole time they're on the sidelines like, grumpy, angry, don't like anything that you have going on for yourself. There's a sly comment here and there about every little piece of success and all your wins. There's always a little comment about, oh, I didn't know you would need to do this for that, or, oh, well, that's not a big deal, or, you know what I mean? People just have a, oh, I guess, let's see how long that lasts. People like that, you don't want that in your life. You want somebody who's excited about you just saying like, hey, I've been constipated for a week and I finally took a shit. It's like, oh my God, like, wow. You want people that are that excited for you, like about just about anything. Like I had a cold.
Honestly, like I feel you there because like, as you know, like we were speaking about this yesterday where I told you like, since I've gotten engaged, I feel like the only time where I was able to really like speak on it and just openly be happy about it is when I was that week that I got engaged because I was in DC with you and with and we were having a good old little vacation and it was fun, but it was just kind of like coming back into like just every day, like after coming out of vacation, you kind of go back to real life in a sense. And it was just kind of like, I wouldn't say I've been scared, but I've had this overwhelming uneasiness about sharing my, like one of the most happiest things that I really didn't expect or never really saw for myself in some cases. Like it's a really happy thing and I should be able to enjoy that and talk about it. But it's like, I have really been secretive about it, not because I'm not like willing to talk about it or I'm hiding my man, nothing like that. It's just, I'm so concerned about energy and I'm so concerned about people
Amen.
and who I share my life with and who I share my happiness with that it's like it's been really really hard for me to just openly be obnoxiously happy about being engaged the way any woman would be or should be, you know. So it's like I know we have like we got like the 10-minute sign like 5 minutes ago.
Oh,
So real quick,
oh,
the last thing I want
oh,
to touch on
oh.
toxicity
I didn't even
is
see. I'm sorry, y'all. Ooh,
and this is
ooh.
so it's okay. It's because it's lagging. It's lagging a lot tonight. So the last thing that I have here that I think is really important to mention, because toxicity doesn't necessarily mean, as I'm pretty sure people might notice with this um, episode, we're not man bashing or we're not addressing anything female, male. Toxicity is for anyone, like for anyone. If you feel like you have a toxic motherfucker in your life, get that person away from you.
It could be your
And the last thing that I'm
family.
going to
It
touch
could
on is
be.
something that I feel like a lot of women have a lot of, I feel like a lot of women struggle with this last topic that I'm going to mention. And it's a major point of argument in relationships, and it's toxic friends. And I say this because a lot of time men don't like our friends. You know what I'm saying? They may like one or two, they may like half of one, but there's always that one or two or the whole group that your man don't like, your man don't want you sharing the business with him, with them, your man don't really care for them being around. And sometimes we see it as you're trying to isolate me. You're trying to keep me away from my friends. You're trying to do this, you're trying to do that. Now that can be real shit. It can be if you're with an abuser. But if you're with a person who really cares about you and they've always shown you that they care about you and they've never given you any kind of reason to think anything less of them other than they care about you, take heed to the things that they say when they point out a certain person in your life. Because it's not always that they're just trying to separate you from your friends or they're trying to isolate you. Because a lot of the times sometimes it's not even your best friend. Sometimes it's just a girl that you have around. And they're like,
Yeah.
I don't care for this person. I don't think that person has your best interest at heart. You know what I mean? And even men, women do it too. Women will tell a man, hey, I don't like this friend. This friend is kind of off to me. I don't like the way the person that you are when you're with him. And then I'm like, oh, you're just trying to stop me from having fun. You don't want me to go out with my boys and do anything. And it's like, no, sometimes having toxic friends, your partner can feel that shit. And they're looking out for you.
That's true.
And that's why a lot of
That's very true.
a man doesn't want us telling our friends all of the relationship business, because not all your friends want that relationship to survive. Some people that you call your friends are over here wishing on the downfall of your shit because they're alone and they're miserable, or they're in a situation and they're still miserable. And vice versa with women. There are a lot of men out here who are jealous of their homeboys' relationships.
Yep,
so
that's true.
I feel like that's another major toxicity. But I will let Mel give her 2 cents on this last topic, because we only have about 3 minutes left.
Okay, so it's like no, I totally agree. I'll just speed that up like Speedy Gonzalez. I totally agree. That's true. Sometimes like when I was in my actual relationship with my children's father, I remember him just like not liking my best friend at all. Fast forward maybe like a few years later, she ended up being like one of the most toxic friendships I have ever, like, that was my best friend since I was like 15. One of them in our, leading up to our, it was just like when I was slim before I had my kids, it's like she'd make comments like, oh, like guys actually like thicker girls, because she was thicker, then she lost weight and I gained weight. And it was like, oh, like I'm trying to lose weight. It was just always a low-key competition, but I would always be like, no, she's my friend. We've been around each other for so long. Like my kid's dad would always be like, dude, this girl is a demon. My mom, everyone would just be like, this girl does not like you. She's not your friend. She's, you know what I mean? And they were all right. So I agree. And it's not like I wasn't allowed to have friends or, anything like that. It's literally just because sometimes other people, because you have a history with a person, you don't want to see the bad in them, even though you sense it, even though it's poking at you, that energy wave is just like smacking you across the face every so often. You're like, was that shade? Or that was kind of a weird movement right there. But you're like, she's my friend. Your partner or whoever don't give a fuck about that bitch will tell you like, no, that's not your friend. Like she doesn't like you. She's jealous of you. She's hating on you. She wants your downfall. Those are things that people who care about you, who are around you. Do you understand? Right. So 1 minute to the clock. Thank you, Kurt. So we have 1 minute. Nah, I didn't know I took 2 minutes to say that. I'm sorry.
Here you go.
Yeah, I guess we'll wrap up here. So
I mean, all that say, trust your gut, trust your energy, trust your instinct,
trust your
loved ones. Sometimes you really, 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 really want to put your trust in someone, but it's just not. That's just not it. Before the minute runs out, follow us on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube, TikTok, Spotify. We also have our top picks. So myself, Melissa, and Kurt, our producer, have put together 3 amazing playlists. Every Monday, we add 5 songs to the list for how we're feeling on that day. And contact us, send us your feedback, your stories, your questions in the DM on Instagram at Crazy Bitch Factory Inc. What am I forgetting? Anything?
No. And history is not a valid reason to keep someone in your life. Bam. It's not a valid reason. If it's not working, it's over.
That's fact.
And that's I had to take a sip of my tea, and that's all for today.
Exactly. So thank you so much for coming back to the Crazy Bitch Factory. Please look out for our next episode. We're going to be doing some get to know your host. So I'm going to ask Melissa a bunch of questions about her life, and she's going to answer them because she has no choice.
I'm excited.
That's going to be the next episode. Look out for that.